our old friend Phoebe Rose on the line.
Hi, Phoebe.
Ben, woohoo! Before I begin, I just wanted to get that going. Hello to both of you. Hello.
Hello, Phoebe.
Hi, Phoebe.
I have a quandary in my life.
It's not Ben, is it?
No, but it could be. But you never know. But anyway, a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, has asked me to officiate their pagan hand-fasting wedding next week. And as an atheist, I have no idea how on earth I respond to this good friend of mine. Because I want to be a nice friend, but it's paganism. And yeah, what on earth? I'm just... Help!
I think, look, I mean, what? First of all, do you know any of the specific beliefs? It's because there are different forms of paganism, and some of them are entirely non-supernatural. So it helps to know.
So Samhain, which is the 1st of May, has been selected deliberately, and the ceremony is going to be in a national park in the United Kingdom. And we're going to be getting back in touch with the earth itself and getting in touch with the spirit and soul of the earth.
As you do. Okay, so you're obviously having trouble making this up. How do you feel about them as people? You've said they're your friends, but are these people that you feel like you want to do this for? Is this something that you feel like you want to do it for them, regardless of their belief?
In my former religious days self, I was a registered officiant of marriages. And they know this, and they know that in the UK it doesn't expire. So it's still good. So they're asking me to do this for them. And they are very good friends of mine. They're not people that are like acquaintances. These are very close friends of mine. And I just don't know how it melds with me as somebody who has left a belief system which is not based in what I consider to be rationality, skepticism, etc. But at the end of the day, they're really good friends of mine. And I don't want to upset my friends. I don't want them to have to shell out an awful lot of money to find an officiant at very short notice to do this. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be almost being a hypocrite.
Have you talked to them about it, Phoebe?
I have.
Have you mentioned your concerns?
I have. It's a very difficult conversation because they are in this place of happiness and bliss that they're getting married. And it's very difficult to have this kind of conversation with them without destroying that level of happiness and bliss potentially that they're going through.
And so, will there? I mean, I'm sure there's I've not been to a pagan wedding. I'm sure that there's kind of prescribed. Is there a prescribed ceremony, or are they writing their own kind of vows and go on?
There's an element of them writing their own, but there's also a legal prescribed set which has to be done as well. Which
from the pagan perspective.
In every marriage. From the pagan perspective, like, so if you were to have a Jewish wedding, it would have Jewish prescribed. Catholic, it would have Catholic prescribed. A registrar would do that at a registry office, would have the prescribed wording. And this person is probably one of my closest friends that I've got. And I love her to bits. But I just don't know how I feel about the approach, because the approach is lovely. The approach makes me feel really, really, really loved by this person. And I don't want to crush my friend knowing that they're doing this from a place of love towards me. And
yeah, I think I wonder if, like, maybe there needs to be part of this conversation to where, like, because I could see, if I were in your shoes, I might be okay doing something like that, knowing that it's more of a cultural experience. Like, I'm stepping into their culture versus stepping into their belief system, which, yeah, they're kind of intertwined, but maybe, like, if there are clear lines where you let them know, like, hey, I really want to do this for you. You're great friends of mine. And just enforce that there's mutual understanding that you are not participating in spiritual aspects of it. You're reading the things you need to. You're helping them participate in the ways that they're going to participate, but it doesn't carry the same significance for you that it does for them. It's more like you're extending yourself into a culture, essentially. Because I mean, I've been to many Hindu celebrations. I've been to, and granted, it's a different experience, like officiating versus being present for one. But I think as long as you're comfortable being in that cultural setting, I don't see why you would need to draw that hard line unless it was uncomfortable for you specifically. And that's something where you need to maybe listen to yourself and go with what your personal comfort level is.
Yeah, it's weighing on my mind, because I know that I haven't left a religious system for many years. And I also know that my friend is somebody who helped me with my struggle with religion. And I hear what you're saying about it being a cultural experience, and I will probably go away and I'll probably think quite deeply on that. But I just worry that they may not fully appreciate, because they could be wrapped up slightly in their own sense of bliss for their day. Am I making sense?
Yeah, the thing is, this is like anything. You've got to be comfortable within yourself. And I, we had a super chat earlier from someone I spoke to a few weeks ago, and we'd had a conversation, and I'd given them advice about being comfortable with yourself. And I think no matter what the situation is, that is the primary concern with something like this. And you need to make sure that you're happy with what you're doing. And as long as, or even maybe if, I'm going to correct myself here, even if that involves putting your friendship on the line to be true to yourself, I think sometimes that's something you might have to consider. I would hope that's not the case. And if they're as good friends as you say they are, I wouldn't think that is the case. Anyway, but I think you've always got to kind of take that self-love and self-care, and in this case, that is being comfortable with yourself and what you've been asked to do. Maybe a way forward is to ask them if there's any way to amend certain of the wordings to kind of fit a little bit better and make you feel a little bit more comfortable. Maybe that's a way around it. But I think, something like this has always got to be your decision first and foremost, and it's got to be a decision you are comfortable with. And I think that is the primary kind of consideration that you need to take into account when you're thinking about whether to do this or not.
Because previous me, when I was a religious person, would not have given it a second thought. I would have said yes, because, okay, they do their thing and I do my thing. But I just have this thing in my head where I don't want to be going against what is the foundations that I have of questioning and skepticism just because they're my friend. And I think that's what's really the most difficult thing for me here, because
But are you doing that, Phoebe? If you've made it clear to them that you're kind of uncomfortable with it, are you going against it? Because to my mind, going against it would be just simply to pretend that you're absolutely fine with it and they're doing it, and you kind of, even to the extent that you kind of agree with some of the stuff they're saying, but that doesn't sound like what you're doing. It doesn't sound like there's any pretense there. It sounds like you've been upfront and honest with them, and you're just having this kind of internal struggle about it.
Yeah. I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. I think it's me, not them. And that's what I'm struggling with. Because
take some time to think about it. You don't have to, I mean, it's coming up soon, so you can't be too long in the decision, but ultimately it's going to be your own decision to make, and you'll have to do whatever decision you think. I mean, basically, this kind of sounds terrible. It's going to be whatever decision you're probably going to regret less.
Yeah.
So
it's just challenging because I know my own history with religions, and they were very difficult. And I just think that I just need to be true to myself, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thinking about it will be the thing.
Yeah, and listen, Phoebe, listen back to the call and kind of, and chew it over, because obviously we're talking live now, and there might be things we've said that might take a while to sink. There might be things that we've said that you think, well, actually, I want to question that a little bit further. And have a think about it and listen to the call a couple of times, and you've got a couple of days yet, and let's just be comfortable with yourself. I think that's the most important advice I can give. We have the advantage that we are actual friends in real life. You and Ben and myself. So
I don't know if you everybody in the chat that's saying this is a BS call. It is not a BS call. So can everyone in the chat not attack me?
Just ignore the chat. Ignore the chat.
Yeah, this isn't a BS call. Phoebe tweeted something about this wedding earlier on, and Phoebe, we have the advantage of knowing each other in real life, all three of us. If you want to follow this up offline, please feel free. I'm gonna let you go because we do have other calls to take.
All right, thank you.
Please don't kind of accuse the callers of not being genuine, because any of the callers, regardless, but especially Phoebe is my friend and she is Ben's friend in real life, and I have no doubt that is a genuine call. Please don't do that.